Books. Emoji meaning. The book's emoji represents reading, education, knowledge, and learning. It is often used in contexts related to studying, libraries, literature, or intellectual pursuits. Common uses include referring to studying, school, or academia, for example, time to study for exams, symbolizing knowledge, wisdom, or intellectual discussions, for example, always learning something new. Used in conversations about literature, libraries, or book lovers, for example, just finished an amazing novel, or it can indicate research, homework, or academic work. It is frequently used in educational, literary, and intellectual contexts. Boomerang. Emoji meaning. The boomerang emoji represents the traditional curved throwing tool often associated with Australia, skill, and things that return. It can have both literal and metaphorical meanings. Common uses include referring to the actual boomerang, often linked to Australian culture, for example, learning how to throw a boomerang, symbolizing something that comes back around, like karma or consequences, for example, what goes around comes around, used in playful or humorous contexts to indicate returning to a situation, for example, tried to leave, but here I am again. Or it can represent resilience, bouncing back from difficulties, or persistence. It is commonly used in sports, cultural, motivational, and symbolic contexts. Bottle with popping cork. Emoji meaning. The bottle with popping cork emoji represents celebration, champagne parties, and special occasions. It is often associated with festivities, achievements, and joyful moments. Common uses include celebrating achievements, milestones, or big events, for example, we did it, symbolizing champagne, wine, or fancy drinks, for example, time for a toast. Used for birthdays, weddings, New Year's, and parties, for example, Happy New Year. Or it can imply luxury, success, or a festive mood. It is often used in fun, celebratory, and congratulatory contexts. Bouquet. Emoji meaning. The bouquet emoji represents flowers, beauty, celebration, love, and appreciation. It is commonly associated with gifts, romance, gratitude, and special occasions. Common uses include expressing love, affection, or romance, for example, happy anniversary, celebrating special events like weddings, graduations, or birthdays, for example, congrats on your big day, showing appreciation, gratitude, or kindness, for example, thank you so much, or symbolizing spring, nature, or fresh beginnings. It is often used in romantic, congratulatory, and appreciative contexts. Bow and arrow. Emoji meaning. The bow and arrow emoji represents archery, focus, precision, and determination. It is often associated with hunting, sports, mythology, and symbolic meanings like aiming for goals or love. Cupid's arrow. Common uses include referring to archery or hunting, for example, practicing my aim today, symbolizing focus, determination, and setting goals, for example, stay focused and hit your target. Associated with mythology, like Cupid's arrow of love or Sagittarius zodiac sign, for example, love is in the air. Or used in fantasy or adventure themes, for example, Robin Hood, elves, warriors. It is often used in sports, motivation, love, mythology, and fantasy contexts. Bowl with spoon. Emoji meaning. The bowl with spoon emoji represents food, meals, and comfort. It is often associated with breakfast, soup, cereal, porridge, or other bowl-based dishes. Common uses include referring to eating or preparing a meal, for example, having some warm soup for lunch, symbolizing comfort food, especially on cold days, for example, nothing beats a bowl of oatmeal in the morning. Used in health and nutrition discussions, for example, starting my day with something healthy, or representing food-related activities like cooking or meal prepping. It is often used in food, cooking, and cozy meal contexts. Bowling. Emoji meaning. The bowling emoji represents the sport of bowling, leisure activities, and fun competitions. It is often used in contexts related to sports, games, social outings, or striking success. Common uses include talking about bowling or planning a bowling night, for example, "Let's hit the lanes this weekend," symbolizing fun, relaxation, or social events, for example, Friday night bowling with friends, representing success or striking a goal, for example, knocking down obstacles like a pro, or used in sports or competitive contexts. It is commonly used in sports, entertainment, and achievement-related discussions. Boxing glove, emoji meaning. The boxing glove emoji represents boxing, fighting, strength, and determination. It is often used in contexts related to sports, competition, resilience, and overcoming challenges. Common uses include referring to boxing as a sport or workout, for example, hitting the gym for some training, symbolizing toughness, resilience, or fighting spirit, for example, never give up, keep fighting. Used in competitive or confrontational situations, for example, ready to take on this challenge, or playfully indicating a debate or argument, for example, "Let's settle this." It is often used in sports, motivation, and competitive contexts. Boy, emoji meaning. The boy emoji represents a young male child. It is often used to refer to boys, children, youth, innocence, or playful energy. Common uses include referring to a child or young boy, for example, "My little brother is growing up so fast," symbolizing youth, playfulness, or innocence, for example, feeling like a kid again. Used to represent oneself or someone else in a conversation, for example, "That was me as a kid." Or it can also be used in a general sense for males, depending on context. It is commonly used in family, childhood, and casual conversations. Brain, emoji meaning. The brain emoji represents intelligence, thinking, creativity, and mental processes. It is often used in contexts related to knowledge, problem solving, mental health, and deep thoughts. Common uses include talking about intelligence, studying, or critical thinking, for example, "Time to use my brain for this test," referring to creativity and ideas, for example, brainstorming some new projects, symbolizing mental health, mindfulness, or psychology, for example, "Taking care of my mind is important," or used humorously to indicate overthinking or a big brain moment, for example, "That was a genius move." It is often used in intellectual, educational, creative, and mental health related discussions.